Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Virgil Gray, welcome to the Center of the Universe.
Good to be here, and thanks for the invite, Paul.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. You and I knew each other. I guess we met back in the late 90s.
Late 90s, yeah. It was, I had come from division headquarters. I was the G3 shop up there, and then they branch reassigned me from infantry over to engineers. I guess, careful what you ask for. I always bragged on the 229th Engineer Battalion, and I said it was the best infantry battalion the division had. They really were, back then, the way they trained, and of course had no excuses. You were, just miles from AP Hill, and you had some tremendous leadership down there. But anyways, I said that several times, and they said, "Well, why don't you go down there and work with them?" So I did, but it was a good time.
Well, Virgil, I will tell you that being close to AP Hill definitely did not hurt. There were so many units that had to spend half their drill weekend traveling.
Yeah.
And what I would jokingly or half jokingly tell people is we were grunts that could do math.
Yeah, you could. A little smarter than the infantry guys.
Yeah, and I say that out of love because you and I both served as infantrymen and combat engineers. Yeah. And you stayed in Fredericksburg once you.
I did. Yeah, I was there. We moved here in '86, I guess it was, and I took an AGR position with the division, running the division schools down in AP Hill. Did that for several years, and then I was in division for a couple of years, and then down there. But yeah, so we've been here in Fredericksburg the whole time, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, 37 years.
Long time, yeah. It's been a while.
And do you call that area home, or
I do. I mean, I have my dad has 13 brothers and sisters, and my mom has 9, and most of them are out Oklahoma, Arkansas. So that's home too. But we've been here a long time. We've raised our kids here, and my grandkids are here. So we say Virginia's home.
But right on. You were telling me that you spent a couple months in Florida because your son has a brand down there.
Yeah, it was, my 5th granddaughter was born, I think it was the 19th of December. So my wife and I went down on the front end before they went into the hospital, and we're the dog watchers. They got a lab. So we watched the dogs for a couple of days while they were at the hospital. And then we took our camper and the motorcycle down to Tampa down there. We stayed about maybe 10 minutes from their house at a real nice campsite down there. So we had dinner with them every night and help clean the house and do the baby stuff. So yeah, it was pretty fun. It was my first opportunity to be a snowbird, so I kind of liked it. It's nice weather down there.
Well, snowbird when it's winter is definitely nice in Florida. And then I'm sure everybody, your daughter-in-law, your son, your wife, and you just had a blast being down there doing.
Yeah. We couldn't have done that if I was working. I retired back in April, so we kind of offered ourselves up to do that, and really is a real blessing to get down and do that. So we really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to back up more than a couple minutes here.
Okay.
Where were you born, Virgil?
I was born in San Diego, Balboa Naval Hospital. My dad was in the Navy. I guess I said earlier he had 9 brothers and sisters. He was the 3rd oldest, so he went in the Navy very early. But we were born there. Matter of fact, my dad has 9 brothers, all went in the Navy except for the youngest one who went in the Marine Corps, Dottie Joe. And then all his sisters married Navy guys, all enlisted guys. And I think 4 of them retired. So obviously I was Army and officer, so they wouldn't talk to me at family reunions. But, we have a real long naval history and then a little bit of an Army history with me.
Well, I mean, so I imagine the baby of your dad's siblings said, you know what, we've been doing the Navy thing. I'll stay Department of the Navy, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. And then for you, did you look at the Navy or?
No, I had no intention of doing that. Of course, Dad he retired in Virginia Beach, and we moved to Arkansas, and I went to high school and some college there. But a buddy of mine I played baseball and softball, and I was on a softball team A third baseman was Ron Chastain, who's also the company commander for the local unit there. He just retired not long ago as a 3-star general, but really good guy, really influential guy. But he talked me into joining the Guard. So I joined the Guard, went off to basic training just not long after I joined. And then I got back and he wanted me to be his RTO. So I humped his radio around and, for a couple of ATs and stuff. But anyways, he taught me to go to OCS. I went to OCS and then all that's his history. But I had, I think 5 years in the Arkansas Guard, then moved to Virginia Guard. Really wasn't looking for that either. A buddy of mine's dad was the plans operation training officer for New York, and he called me. He'd met me at Benning, and he asked me to apply for a job in New York. In Fort Drum, New York, is one of their division schools there. And I looked up on the map and saw where Fort Drum was. I said, "Nah, I'm not crazy." But thanks to the offer, and I was still taking some college classes then. And anyways, he called not long after that. So they've got a similar position in Virginia with the 29th Division schools. I'd like to apply for that. So, okay, whatever. Anyway, I applied for it and got the job. And that's how I wanted Virginia. I had no intention of doing that. Just kind of one of those deals. But wound up here and liked it, and then, wound up retiring from the Guard. So real lucky. I had one great assignment after another. Got to work with great people, true professionals, all along. So it was very, I wasn't looking for it, just kind of happened upon it, so that happened.
Well, I mean, do you have memories of Southern California?
Yeah. My memories are, my dad was a master chief. So when we'd go into base to see Dad, usually he was playing volleyball or, flag football or something. I thought my dad was a professional athlete, never saw him do anything at work. I did go into the base. Of course, he worked on F4s and A6s and fighter airplanes. He was a mechanic, master chief, and he'd walk through the squad base, and guys would slam themselves against the wall, and I thought he was a damn base commander. So my dad was a big deal. I didn't know he was such a big deal, but he was a big deal. He still was a big deal. But he was my first year. Of course, he coached all my baseball teams and the Pop Warner football team, stuff like that too. So he was when he wasn't at sea, he was very much a dad. Very much involved in everything we did.
Yeah, super involved is really important for parents, as you and I both know. But did he think of you and your siblings as sailors, or did he think of you as his kids?
He didn't bring work home with him. He really didn't. I didn't see that. He wouldn't mind tightening us up, a little bit. He didn't shy away from that, but actually he was very, very good. He didn't bring it home.
Yeah. How old were you when you left Southern California?
We left there, I guess I was 10, and then he did the last tour in Oceana. He finished up there, and in 72 he retired. I was 12, and we moved from there to Arkansas. So I went to junior high and high school and college in Arkansas.
Now, Arkansas well, wait a minute. He went to Arkansas because that's where his family was.
He grew up in Arkansas and Oklahoma. It was kind of home for him. He went back there and got a job as a cop. So he was a local city police guy. Didn't make a lot of money, but he enjoyed it, and he was a damn good cop too. So he knew everybody, and I couldn't get away with nothing. I was, every time I did something, I'd get caught because, he did that for a while, and then he did work for the post office for a little bit, and then he retired. So,
if you're while he was in, you couldn't get away with anything on or near base, I imagine. And then in the town you spent your junior high school years in, he's a police officer. You're not getting away with anything there either.
No, he was a pretty cool guy, but you could pretty much get away with anything except for lying to him. That was not tolerated, so. Didn't do it very often because he actually knew the answer to the question he asked you every time. So it was 99% chance he knew the answer to the question he was about to ask you. So good to lie to him.
So Southern California to Virginia for a couple of years, into Arkansas. Those are three very different parts of the country.
Yeah.
Geographically, terrain-wise, and culturally.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When you found out y'all were moving to Arkansas, were you like, okay, sure, it's another place we're going to live?
Yeah, we moved every couple 3 years, so really it was not. Really wasn't a big deal. We kind of moved, and I had some really close friends growing up in Arkansas, at Point Magoo and Oxnard down there. The Pearson boys. There's 4 boys, and we played the baseball teams together. Their dad and my dad coached our baseball all-star teams and all that stuff. So they moved to Pax River when Dad moved down there. So weekends we go visit them. So matter of fact, the 4 boys, Pearson was my dad's funeral earlier this month, and they were pallbearers. So very close to those guys. I mean, still like brothers to me. So we kind of, that was, so we still had other friends, but they were our closest friends growing up.
The Pearson boys, and you were around the age of what, number 2 or number 3 out of the 4?
Yeah, I was the number 3 and 4. Let's see, 2 and 3 were my age. I was a second.
Yeah.
My sister and their oldest brother were pretty much the same age, and their youngest brother, my brother, were about the same age. So we kind of all got along together. We vacationed together, and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. It's really fun to have good friends and to be able to bring families like that together on vacation. It's awesome, but it's hard to find too, right? To be compatible across all those people.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's of course you grew up military family too, and close, so the deal. You're very close with your family, and then your friends' family, because they were always very close. I mean, like the Pearsons, the mom, Mary Pearson, she's like my mom, So I remember spending the night over there and getting in trouble over there, and her feeding us dinner, and so it was very close friends,
What kind of trouble were y'all getting into? If you grew up like I did, you were outside while the sun was up.
We never went inside. I mean, we went outside and we played from daylight till dark, and most of the time we were on base. Our baseball teams were on base. The pool was on base. We lived off base, but we were on base most of the time. And I recall, in the mornings they'd have a reveille, and evening taps. People would stop to get out of their cars and salute, or put their hand over their heart. The bells went off, and the military music, and I remember all that stuff, and I thought that was what we did. I had Guamanian friends and black friends. I had Oriental friends. I had friends from all walks of life, and every flavor imaginable. We had a very diverse, family and friends. I mean, it was we never do any different, So I was insulated to that degree. So
yeah,
very diverse.
Yeah, it's funny. The military, I think, was probably on the forefront of integrating lots of different cultures and backgrounds and ethnicities, and didn't really think much about it.
No, I never thought anything about it. It was just friends were friends, and didn't matter what color, what didn't matter. We're all together.
Yeah, that's right. In the Army, we were all green, right?
All green, and so that's. Then I moved to Arkansas, and it wasn't like that. We moved there, and there were no diversity at all where I grew up. There, it was a culture shock for me. But anyways, yeah, it's different around the world. It's different away from the military, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so by the time you ended up going to Arkansas, you were already playing a lot of baseball and football. It sounds
like. We moved. Yeah, we played all kinds of sports, and we grew up. We moved down there in the middle of the school year, and it was like basketball season. And then we went in. My dad brought me into the principal's office. The principal was Mr. Mosley. He played for the Arkansas Razorbacks. He had a collegiate record longest field goal for the NCAA for 10 years. But he was an athlete. He was interested, in. Where did your son play sports? Yeah, sure. So he said, he signed me for basketball. And I also remember saying, Mr. Gray, do you mind if we spank your son? He says, God, yeah. If he gets in trouble, you do what you got to do and send a note back to home, and I'll wear his ass out. We can hope so. they had corporal punishment there, so we got I got a little bit of that on occasion there, but so we it was of course basketball season. As you know, I'm not. You have a basketball body. I don't have a basketball body, so I remember I didn't play. I played basketball some, but not organized basketball. And I remember the first day of basketball practice. They're doing the star drill. You throw the ball in the star drill, and I'd fuck it up. I'd throw the wrong person. He'd set me in the stands and call me a goat. So, anyways, so the first game was Akron. It was an away game. It was I think it's 8 miles and I didn't make the road trip. They left me home. The next game was a home game, and I did dress out, but I had a jersey with no number on it. So, I wasn't a great basketball player. When football season came around, it was a different story. I did okay on that, but not a great basketball player, So.
Well, what was your sport? Was it football or baseball?
Football, baseball. Yeah, I played football. I was an all-state linebacker. And matter of fact, my junior year, we won the state championship. The only state championship our little town has ever had. It was the kids I grew up with were all. Well, we played all day long every day, but we went to the pool together. We played baseball together, football together. So a lot of good athletes in my grade. So we won our district and then state championship that year. So it was kind of big. Matter of fact, they had a sign out there, Mena, Arkansas, welcome to Mena, Arkansas, home of the 1976-77 Mena Bearcats. The sign's long gone now, but it was a big deal for a long time. Matter of fact, they asked me, I think the 40th anniversary, they sent a note out to everybody who wants to be in a parade, so I didn't make the parade, but I saw pictures of the parade. They're all guys with the oxygen mask on, wheelchairs and, pretty, not all of them, but a lot of them pretty rough. But I did not make the 40-year parade. But anyways,
I mean, Virgil, the 50th coming up.
Yeah, maybe the only one left alive. Who the hell knows?
So you played linebacker. What did you like about playing linebacker?
Oh, I had the best defensive tackles. They took I would just run around and make tackles. So it was easy. I had really good tackles in front of me, so defensive tackles. But I played strong side linebacker. And, I just enjoyed the contact. I enjoyed playing ball. But I really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, something about the competition and something about the physicality of it.
Oh yeah.
And having teammates and playing well together as a team, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, it was fun times, and we were lucky. We should have never won our district, much alone the state championship. We were lucky as hell. We had a couple really good players. Mark Ford was one of them. He played offensive tight end. He was like the Mena, Arkansas Gronkowski of the day. He would run out there and throw his arm up, and the quarterback would hit him with the ball. And he also punted. And I remember one game in the playoffs that he kicked the ball 75 yards. On a punt. The guy was lucky, but that guy was incredible athletes. We had 3 or 4 really good athletes. I was not one of them. I was just on the team, but we had some really good athletes. And, lucky, we were very lucky. You get to make it that long.
You were telling me a couple of days ago that you got injured along the way in that playoff run.
Well, it wasn't injuries per se, but it was on the state. We went to state playoffs, and we we're playing Arkadelphia, who has had really a lot of speed. And Arkadelphia, our coach. We could play at any stadium we wanted to. Could be the University of Arkansas, Little Rock, Fayetteville. We could have played anywhere. When you get state playoffs, to let you play. He opted to play in Arkadelphia, the home of the team that were playing in Henderson State, because they had a grass field, and it was raining, so the grass was wet and the field was wet, and that's probably why they won, because they had us at speed. But our coach was smart enough to put us on a field that we could play. Anyways, they were very overconfident. They had already ordered their championship rings, and they were ready to just show up and just lean on us and win. And anyways, And they probably should have beat us. 9 out of 10 times they would have beat us, but they did not that day. But anyways, halftime, like I said, is ready wet. And we had a kickoff. We had scored, and we kicked off to them. And the guy returned the ball the length of the field. And I was right behind him, and they had a penalty to play, but a clot of mud got right in my eyeball. And we jogged, finished up they called the play back. It didn't score, but anyways, that ended the half. So we jogged into halftime, and I had this big wad of mud that was in my eye, and I was laying on the table, and the coach had a water bottle squirting the mud out of my eyeball, and I looked up. It's Cliff Harris. Cliff Harris was it came in and visited us during halftime and said, "Hey, Cliff, how are you?" But he had talked to me for a little bit. But Cliff Harris played at Washington Baptist, which is right across the street from Henderson State. So it was kind of neat to see him, at halftime. But that's my one, sword for that. But
well, he was with the Cowboys 2 or 3 years later, right?
He was playing for Cowboys then. Yeah, he was.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was Cliff Harris and those guys were all playing then. Yeah, it was.
And Cliff's in the Hall of Fame now.
Oh yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. He was a Hall of Famer. He was a hell of a defensive.
He played safety, right?
Played safety and cornerback, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
He was part of those awesome Cowboys teams in the 70s.
Yeah, when they had Stahlback and all those guys there.
Yeah, that's when they became America's team, much to my chagrin.
Oh yeah, still America's team.
Not winning any Super Bowls the last 2.5 decades.
No, didn't make the playoffs, but they didn't get very far this year. But did one game. But
is that your team?
Well, yeah, I kind of my dad is rooted for the Cowboys because they were on every Sunday, and Stahlback was in the Navy, so we kind of inherited them, as our team, and then the Atlanta Braves used to watch them because they were on she could follow them, so I kind of followed them. So I guess my baseball team is the Braves, and then still Cowboys, but they're kind of hard to root for lately, They're with.
Yeah, it's rough. Jimmy Johnson plus Jerry Jones equals 3 Super Bowls, and I know that technically Switzer was the coach for the last one, but
he just rode the.
Yeah, I
Jimmy Johnson.
I've kind of been rooting against America's team because there's so many people that loved them.
Yeah.
Back when I was a kid in the 70s, and then certainly they were a lot to take in the 90s.
Sure. Yeah.
And I kind of feel sorry for them the last couple decades. It's been rough.
Yes, they're good enough. They just didn't have a killer instinct. They could never win, a game. And I don't know. I think it's just so competitive now. I mean, all the teams are good. Any given day, anybody can beat anybody in the NFL.
I think that's right. And actually, I think it makes for better football.
No, I think it does too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So you're a baseball guy too. What position did you play?
I played short, third, some outfield, catcher mostly. In baseball, I played catcher. And I really enjoyed that. It's kind of like command the field out there. Played cather.
You can see everything, right?
Yeah, see everything. Made all the calls. And it was fun. It was. I played catcher all my career. I pitched some, but I didn't have any speed. I could throw strikes, but I wasn't striking nobody out.
I was the opposite of you. I could throw hard, but I couldn't find the strike zone.
Yeah.
Oh man. Did you have any idea of playing football or baseball after high school?
No, well, not really. I mean, I wasn't big enough. I mean, I was good, in AA football. I was a star of our team, but I wasn't big enough to play college ball. I played ball 178, and I could run real fast for like 5 yards, and then I didn't have, that was it. I was like wide open. So the first 5 yards I'd beat you, but beyond that, I wasn't fast enough. No, I did not. But we went down to Fort Benning, Georgia, officer basic course down there. I had the Fort Benning Doughboys, and we had some big monsters on our team. A couple of guys played. One played for Citadel. One was playing for UVA, and some other guys. My buddy played in Schenectady, New York, and they kind of got recruited, and we were buddies. So I went out with them on the team, and a couple of weeks of that, I was out. I'm not, because we had, as you know, you're PTing first thing in the morning, and all day long, and then last thing you want to do is hit the damn football field and get yelled at by those guys. But anyways, it was a very short career, and after that, but
yeah, it was a good idea. It sounds like at the beginning, but in practice, it sounds pretty rough.
It wasn't fun.
Yeah. So Virgil, you were in the Arkansas Guard for 5 years. You said.
Yeah.
When did you get commissioned? At what point were you commissioned?
I was in there about a year and a half before I went to OCS, and took a year to get to OCS, and then I got 80. I was commissioned. I joined the Guard in 80, and then I was commissioned in 82.
Okay.
And then I moved to Virginia in 86. So I think it's about 5 or 6 years I was there. In June of 80. So it was like 5 years, little 5 years in the Arkansas Guard.
And you were M-Day or for our
I was
listening?
an M-Day. I was an M-Day.
I
was a rifle platoon leader for a couple of years, and then I was a mortar platoon leader, and then I was a XO for a little bit, and then I moved to Virginia. So,
at what point did you decide you wanted to go to Ranger School?
Well, I wanted to go Ranger School. It was just tough to get a slot. I mean, it was tough to get to go. But I applied for it a couple of times. I got to Virginia. I was Tom Johnson was our Colonel Johnson was our commander, and then I told him I wanted to go, and he worked the deal and let me apply for it, and I went and made it. The first time out. But yeah, it was something I wanted to do. One of the things I wanted to do was to get down there and do that. It's probably one of the tougher courses the Army's got, anyways, and it was a challenge.
Yeah, I have a guy I went to school with who did Ranger School and went through SFAS and the Q course and all that. And he said, I said, which one was tougher? He said, the one I had to go through first. Like if I'd done them in the opposite order, the first one would have been the harder one. Yeah. And so I think that training for the Army, SF training and Ranger School are pretty darn comparable.
Yeah, they are. I think they are.
Yeah. All right. So you got to have a story of you being exhausted that has to be funny. Every guy that's been to Ranger School that I've talked to seems to have a story where he thought a tree was a Coke machine, and he put his money in the tree and he didn't get his Coke out. He just kicked the tree until somebody stopped him. You got anything like that?
Yeah. Well, I got a couple of stories. I mean, early when you get down there, they get you out of you first. And you be a guy. Mine was a guy named Bailey. He was Richard Bailey. He was a Canadian warrant officer. Anyways, he was a stud. I mean, he was an absolute freaking stud. I mean, the guy was a triathlete. He was a tremendous athlete. He's just a hell of a soldier. And we were on the land nav course out there. The buddy land nav course, not the individual land nav course. We're off in the woods, and he stopped. He says, Virgil, I know you're an officer in the United States Army, and I'm an enlisted guy or about to be a warrant officer of the Canadian Army, but he says, if you screw me, I'm going to kill you. I go, you're going to kill me? So I said, yeah, well, see, I don't take threats, but don't worry about me carrying my load. Don't ever threaten me again. We're going to have a throwdown. But anyways, he was just somebody got it locked in, but so we had that conversation. We were best of friends. I mean, I had a bad day, he picked me up. He'd have a bad day to pick him up. So we never had a problem. But somebody told him early on to make sure his Ranger buddy didn't screw him. But so that I had that one. I know that we were in another one. We were in the mountains and it got really cold. It was just the temperature dropped, and we were up there and it was raining, and it was freezing rain on us. So anyways, the class, I was a winter Ranger, February, March, April, 87.
You're crazy, Virgil, for going in winter. You're nuts.
Anyways, it was a bad winter. The class before us really got hammered hard, and they had several guys that got hypothermic and lost fingers and toes and ears and stuff. So they were very conscious and very aware of cold weather injuries. And anyways, we were up in the mountains, and you cross the LD, and of course cross the LD. First thing you do, the op for it attacks you. So I dove down and took cover and jumped into a little creek. So I was soaking ass wet. So, anyways, we went up the mountain and we got there. We finished our patrol, and we're at a patrol base. I'm laying on the ground. It was wet. It was cold. And RI comes walking and says, "Hey, Gray, how are you?" So I'm fine. So no, you're not. Come with me. So he picks me up. We go over to the RI tent, and they had this tent with a potbelly stove. So I got naked and hung my clothes up and there and got dried out, and I was fine. But anyways, I would have been injured that night if he had not have helped me. And then another story, same in the mountains. We had a guy, Griffin. He was a drone. He was one of those guys that got recycled 3 or 4 times, and he got our group. And he was just loopy. He just drone all the time. We were on a patrol and walking through the woods in a V formation. He just walks off. So the RI, he says, "Go pick him up, Chris." I'll go down and get him and say, "Hey, dude, get back." Anyways, he was one of those guys that just walked off. I had to police him up a couple of times. We had some other really good stories, but like in Florida, the Ranger camp down there is cold. It was February, but still cold in Florida. But and I kind of envisioned, doing the river crossing where you kind of walk along and you hit the river. And we stayed wet. We stayed waist deep to chest deep the whole time. And we had been in the water, I don't know how many hours, but it got out, and finally RI said make a fire. So we had the little bullshit Ranger fires where it was like this. Make a functional fire. So we had like an 85-foot tower fire going. But it was cool. I mean, and my wife was pregnant with my middle daughter, Susan. Somehow the RIs found out that my wife was pregnant. So on 2 occasions, one in the mountains, we were doing a patrol, and the RI, I was the aid and litter team commander for that patrol. So he said, "You're injured." They made him carry me out, my equipment out. We got to a little opening in the woods. They called in a helicopter and dropped a jungle penetrator, lifted me off and took me back to the drop zone. And I got out, and he said, he puts me in a Humvee, drives me to the phone, and says, "Call your wife." So called my wife in the middle of the night, checked in with her. And then another occasion, he did the same thing in Florida. So the two occasions, they pulled me out to a telephone call, put me back in the field, which was really cool.
Yeah, it's really nice of them. They definitely didn't have to do that, right?
No, it did not. I never told them about how they knew that I did that. But anyways, and there was some, but I was in great shape when we went down there, and I was prepared. I ran the division school, so I kind of ran a little mini Ranger school. So it wasn't just another day for me, but I really didn't have any big problems at all. It was good times.
Was it worse to be hungry or tired?
Yeah, I think it just it didn't bother me that bad. I mean, there was days that you really were hungry, but you didn't have any food, just drove on, and it wasn't a big deal, But you get tired. You just get so tired. I remember in Florida, of course, it was too cold for the snakes. We're thinking, well, if a snake bites me, that's okay. I'll just go in. I'm not quitting, but if a snake bites me, it's okay. But no, you just get so tired that you just don't give a shit. But you always look around and think, you kind of feel sorry for yourself. Look around. It's always somebody looks a hell of a lot worse than you do. Well, if he's making, he's still here. Oh, I'm fine. So it was good stuff.
A lot. How often did you have to carry the 60?
It was probably every third, patrol. I know I carried it when we were in the mountains, and we had one of those, humps up the mountain. It's just straight up the damn mountain on this road, and it was like probably 30 to or more incline the whole damn way. Just a real tough afternoon. I had all the machine gun, and a lot of ammo and a heavy ass ruck. Because we're winter ruts, so you had to carry all extra shit in your ruck. And we got all the way up there, and then RI says, he chooses the patrol leader up because look at everybody. You got to do some rest breaks. You got to take care of, make sure you got. Look at Gray. He's carrying all the heavy equipment, and I was smoked. I mean, everybody was smoked, but I was like, it was. I got to carry the pig that time, and then I got it. Also, our last mission, I was lucky. I had to pass every patrol I had. Had no problem. But we got to Florida. I was already passed everything, and I had me as a machine gun team leader. And of course, we did the raid on Julio there in the rough seas, and the salt water got in the machine guns, and it wouldn't shoot for shit anyways. But I flunked that patrol because the machine guns wouldn't fire. But yeah, it was fun stuff.
So some of that stuff is unavoidable, right?
Yeah, it didn't matter. Yeah.
All right. So you led the schools, and you say schools. I knew it as the
Rites of Pass, ITD. Yeah, it was the infantry training detachment. So I was the OIC of instructions. I had all the instructors that I had working. I worked on the POIs from Benning, light leaders, and rites of passage, and all the other stuff. We Repel Master and other courses we did down there. So we did all that, but it was a fun way to make a living, man. We had all those great NCOs, and we trained our ass off every day. And so we had really a great setup down there. Really enjoyed it.
And y'all, yeah, I was gonna say it was you, one
John
other officer and a bunch of NCOs.
Yeah, but mostly NCOs. Yeah, it was for a long time. It was Tom Johnson and myself. That was it. Then we got Alan Hartsfield. It was S4, and then John Fortune came in a little later as the 4. Bob May came in as the 1 for a while. It was in there for a while. So we had Chris Downey was there for a while. We had we had a few officers, but I was there for a long time, 5 years I think it was. So long time there.
And you had fun for all of it. It sounds like.
Oh yeah, it was great. I guess a great way to make a living. And we stayed in the field all the time and did good stuff. A lot of good memories. I'd be off somewhere in Abington, Virginia, and going through Walmart. Some guys, oh, Captain Gray, remember this? Night we're in the woods, and every night. So they'd have these vivid memories of things that we did, and it's just another day to me. But it was fun stuff.
Yeah, for that guy, it was 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, it was like a couple of days. It was fun stuff.
Fortune, you and I were talking earlier this week.
Yeah.
I knew him by legend.
Yeah.
He apparently was doing things with his body that I couldn't comprehend, and you got to watch it.
Oh yeah, I work out with him, and I do my 50 or 60 push-ups. He would do like 200 or 300 push-ups at a shot, and then roll over and do 500 or 600 sit-ups. He would do so many sit-ups, he had a constant bruises and blood would come off his back off his butt and back from doing sit-ups. The guy was a freaking animal, and he would run all day long. He would run, he would beat everybody and distance, and he could run all day. I mean, the guy was a tremendous athlete. He was an older guy too. He was 40s, but he was pretty old back then. So, but he was tremendous. I mean, he was something else.
I mean, the physiology to do what you just said at his age.
Yeah.
Did he not feel pain, or was pain sort of different from him? Did he ever talk about it?
I don't know. That maybe he just wasn't very smart. No, I'm just kidding. No, John's a good guy. He loved to work out. It was his release. Yeah. His workout would be like 2 hours. Mine would be 45 minutes an hour. He'd be 2 hours. He would warm up for like an hour, do push-up, sit-ups before he do anything else. But yeah, he was something else. Yeah,
he never had to worry about getting a good score with the PT.
he would easily max that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about some of the NCOs in the ITD when you were there.
Yeah.
There's not a bad one out of the bunch that I can remember.
No, we had some bad ones. We had a couple of bad, but there were some pretty good ones. Some real standouts. Like Roger Krause, Stockhausen, Dwight Peck. Yep. Rick Saldivar. We had a bunch of guys there. Rick Nelson, Top Nelson was down there. We had some really great and some real characters. Some good ones down there. Carl Holcomb. Was down there. We had some really great NCOs. And I got to work with. When we did the Sapper Leaders, I got to work with all the NCOs at the 229th Engineers. We kind of formed a cadre down there. We started running the Sapper Leader business.
Yeah.
So and they really, and some of those same NCOs wound up down to 229th Engineers, Stockhausen and Krause and some others. So there's some
Holcomb, Krause, and Stockhausen all came through there.
And they were all top notch. So we had some really good ones down there for a long time.
Yeah, I was very fortunate as a junior officer in Fredericksburg. I had, one or two bad NCOs, but the rest were really strong.
Yeah, I was very fortunate too, especially early on. I had, in Mena, Arkansas, I had Jimmy Jones was my, not Jimmy Jones from the Cowboys, but Jerry Joe with Jimmy Jones. He was my platoon sergeant, and he was just tremendous. So he was a great mentor for me, and let me lead, and then when I screwed up, he'd pull me off the side and tell me how screwed up I was, But it was great NCOs, and when I left the Guard and I went, worked for the emergency management. When I became the coordinator for Northern Virginia up here at Region 7, the first thing I did was hire Don Willis. So I called him and said, "What are you doing, Don?" Habitat for Humanity or something. I said, "I want you to come work for me." So I hired him, and of course he was, he's another tremendous NCO was down there. Lilly, Tim Lilly, and Bonner. You had some top notch NCOs. Sammy Heron. It was just some really great NCOs. Sergeant Major Ward, we had some really tremendous NCOs down there, senior NCOs. So,
I'll tell you, anybody's been around Sergeant Major Ward for more than a couple of minutes, everybody tried to imitate him.
He was something. I remember him. He was another big runner, and I ran a little bit back then, but I remember we were 18. He said, "We're gonna go run," and so. We ran from I think it was Heth Schoolhouse up to Cook Campsite. Fucking 7 or 8 miles in July. Yeah. It was hotter than hell. I was going to freaking die, but I made it, but I don't know how I made it, but he about killed me that day.
Sergeant Major Ward was a professional, and I was glad he was my CSM for, the first 7-8 years I was in.
And what a professional. And just, he was a school principal too. The guy was just a great, and he could deal with the troops or the officers, the senior officers. He could chew some ass too. He was good at that. Anybody, so he was good.
He didn't take any guff off the junior officers.
Anybody, no, from any senior officers, he'd take his shit from anybody. He was always right too. He was always right.
Oh man! And speaking of a lot of these guys that we just mentioned, ended up being E9s. They ended up being sergeants major.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one of them was Heron. And Sammy Heron was one of those guys. You wanted to be training with him. You would gladly go to combat with him. I trusted him implicitly, but he loved to screw with junior officers.
Yeah. We worked together. We worked together at Fort Belvoir with the 29th Division. He was there, and him and Bob Huffin would tackle me and take my pants off, it was crazy. Yeah, and they're both men too. They were like, it was something else.
Strong as oxes.
Oh yeah, and Sandy, if he snagged you, you were done. His hands were so damn strong.
Oh my gosh. So he would come up to me and shake my hand. And he wouldn't let go. And I'm like, "Sam, you're going to break my fingers. Can you stop, please?"
Oh yeah. I've got arthritis in my right hand from him doing that to me.
And he would also, and I think this meant he liked you if he did this. He would walk by me, and he got away with the first couple of times. He would just backhand my crotch.
Oh yeah. He had it's like I'd say the same treatment. Everybody, he was equal opportunity. Everybody got the shit slapped over.
If he liked you. If he liked you,
If he did.
If he didn't like you didn't get that treatment.
I got plenty of them. So he must have liked me. I don't know.
Oh man. All right. So you ended up you were in Fredericksburg for a while. You got to be a company commander in Virginia too, right?
Yeah, I commanded. Yeah, I commanded the ITD down there for a while.
Oh, that was your 03 command. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. And then you left Fredericksburg, and I think you had a good time in Fredericksburg.
I did. And it was like I said, it was best infantry battalion in the division for the time I was there. Yeah, it was great. It was a great job, and working with Coster, Bob Coster, all those guys. It was a good time.
Colonel Coster was a reasonable, good guy, and you could go to him with whatever stuff you needed to work out.
He knew his business for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you ended up getting a command, and you were talking about having a few armories out there.
Yeah.
2nd Battalion was headquartered out of Lynchburg?
Lynchburg. It was headquartered in Lynchburg. We had attachments in Charlottesville, Lynchburg.
Did you go up to Harrisonburg?
No, we didn't have Harrisonburg. Gosh, where were we? Charlottesville, Harrison.
Woodstock?
No, we didn't work Woodstock. Gosh.
Warrenton?
Yeah, no, Warrenton. We're not Warrenton. We were Lexington. No, gosh. Anyways, I forget. Anyway, we had 4 or 5 armories that we had out there. But
yeah, you were scattered. You were on the road all the time as a
battalion. Yeah, I was on the road all the time. Yeah, I was on the road all the time. Yeah, we we're always visiting the troops and back and forth. For whatever reason, we had lots of meetings and things we had to do.
Yeah, too many meetings.
Yes.
When you guys went to the field, did you end up going to Pickett or AP Hill, or did you?
We went to Pickett some. Pickett's a little closer for us, but I like to go into AP Hill. It was a better training post. But yeah, we did a lot of work at Pickett. Probably about half the time at Pickett.
Yeah, AP Hill just had it was bigger. It had more ranges. The training areas were bigger and more diverse. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Pickett was more in tune with artillery. Had better artillery, positions and ranges, but AP Hill had the best ranges and training areas for sure.
Yeah, if you were a grunt, you'd rather go to AP Hill, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and as an engineer, AP Hill started to close down all the demo ranges. You could do anything when I first came in, and then they basically stopped everything.
Yeah.
Didn't make much sense to me, but it is what it is, I guess. All right, so you got out of the Army after how many years?
Just less than 20. It was 24 years, 11 months, and some change, but just less than 25 years. So I retired less than 1 January 2005.
Yeah, and then did you have any idea what you were going to do before you retired?
Well, I was kind of leaning forward to retire. What I did. January was my targeted time to retire, and I had a couple of really good job offers out there. People called me and wanted me to go work for them. One was the 29th Division. Kenny Smith called and said, "Are you planning on hanging around, or are you retired?" And I told him my wife wants me to retire. It was she was more done than I was. I was probably, if it wasn't for the home stuff, I would have liked to try to hang around, maybe command, brigade or Anyways, that was what I wanted to do. But my wife was done. My wife was done with the novelty worn off after 25 years of me being gone, so she was ready for me to retire. And so we retired, and I went to work. For the got an interview with General Long, who was a division commander then. And I was his operation training assistant worked for the distributed battle simulation program. So I was kind of on special staff for the division, and I worked with all the units to get ready to go to Afghanistan and Iraq and Gitmo and Kosovo. So I got to work, all those had priority for training. So I would work with them. I worked with like a 224th Aviation was one of them. And no, they were pre-mobbed out of Fort Dix, New Jersey in like February. And it sucks, in February in Fort Dix. It sucks all the time at Fort Dix. Anyways, they were going to Afghanistan, and being part of a Marine task force, and they were getting no flight hours at all, none whatsoever. They just couldn't get anything going. So I was able to work a deal with First Army to get them down to Yuma, Arizona, to go do their training out there. So they worked with the Marine Division and all that out there. So I remember we had 4 of those guys that were old Vietnam vet pilots. Outlaw was one of them. Jim Outlaw. There's 4 guys that had to get special waivers to go to Afghanistan because they're all over 62. And anyways, we got them over there. Got them to Yuma. They got the good train up on the way in. They had to fly the helicopters, do all their desert landings and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, they went over there and set all the records for maintenance for the combat. They flew every dangerous mission. They flew it. Those 4 warrant officers led every mission, the dangerous mission. It's funny, and I got them over there when they came back. I was at the airfield, met them. All those old guys looked 10 years younger. I mean, they came back with they looked like 10 years, and all the young guys looked 10 years older. So it was weird, but and nobody had no like Class B or C accidents. And nobody does that, with helicopters. But that was one of the better things I did was get them out there, get them back. But very proud of that. They did a great job. But one of the many units I got ready to go. But that was a good job. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's important training, right?
Oh yeah, that was fun stuff.
You're getting guys ready to go over to a hostile place.
Oh yeah.
And then after that, you ended up at VDM.
Yeah, I was really satisfied. I loved doing what I was doing. You got trained soldiers, wear civilian clothes and all that. Anyways, Bruce Hopkins gave me a call, and I'd known him from AP Hill. He was the base commander, and he commanded 2nd Brigade. I've known him a long time, and he wanted to play golf. So we had finally got our schedules together, and he picked me up and threw my golf clubs in the back of the car. And before we got a subdivision, he says, "Hey, I want you to come work for me at VDM. What is that?" So went down that road, what that was, and I don't know anything about that. Sure you do. Logistics are logistics, admin's admin. Trade. It's different acronyms, same stuff. So, anyways, I applied for the job. Of course, he was on the board, so I got hired and was his deputy. Did that for a couple of years, and then he retired. I applied for his job, and then I got promoted at VDM. So I did that 8 years. Had 10 jurisdictions in Northern Virginia that I worked with, and the NCR had Stafford, Prince William, Loudoun County, Fairfax, Arlington, Alexandria, all the Northern Virginia, and then I worked with the NCR. So I did that for 8 years, and then when a job opened up in Stafford County, closer to home, I did that for 6 years. So, anyways, good stuff.
Well, when you were with VDM early on, you ended up going down to Louisiana as part of.
I was. I wasn't on the job that long, but I was part of an EMAC A team that we went sitting down there, and we went down to Cameron Parish, Louisiana. Cameron Parish borders Texas and Texas border, and it's like 75 miles along the Gulf, and it's about eight or 10 miles deep. So it's pretty long. Anyways, the max elevation of the whole county is like 18 feet or 23 feet. So and the storm surge was like 23 feet. Everything that wasn't elevated was just toast, just gone. So we were not the first team that went. That was the second team that went in, and we were there. They were still recovering, but I was responsible for the military support, mass care, and a couple of other emergency support functions that copied down there. But really great experience. Those people down there are just most resilient people and the toughest people and the best people in the world. There's really good people. But it was some tough days. I remember one day we were working and this lady walks into our emergency operations center and she says, "I cannot find my daughter." I said, so she sit down and tell us the story. She went on and on about she couldn't find her daughter. I found out her daughter died as a baby, and and her grave washed out into the swamps.
Oh.
So, anyways, so we knew we had a problem there. So, which alerted us. So I worked with the coroner, who was the ran the funeral home, and we got prisoners from the jails, from the state pens, and we brought them in and had them slug through the swamps and police up all the
headstones
and the bodies
and the bodies
and the body that remains, and we took it into the Lake Charles, into this theater, and we had them all, that's a big ball field or a basketball stadium. We had all the stuff laid out there, and it was you don't think you'd be doing stuff like that. We were actually doing that. We were finding remains and trying to bring remains back to that. So we had all kinds of
that's
challenges.
wild.
Yeah, it was wild.
But you also responded to emergencies in your region, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did. You know what? We every snowstorm and windstorm and we had special events, inaugurations. We had we did a lot. The World Police and Fire Games. I worked those things up there. We had a lot of big events. We did up there, a lot of exercises. With joint exercises with that. Even got to work a couple of missing children. Things. We got to work some of those active shooter things. We had an active shooter at Woodbridge campus of Northern Virginia Community College, and one of those deals was guy was disgruntled guy and walks in there, goes to Walmart and buys a rifle. It doesn't test fire, but he loads it up and walks in there and takes one shot at this teacher, and the weapon jams. And an off-duty police officer from Prince William happened to be on campus, and they had the guy in cuffs in minutes. But anyways, when I got there, 40 minutes after the initial event, we had helicopters flying in the air. We had the adjacent high school was being cleared by Prince William cops. We had the college was being cleared. The state police sniper teams were training just up the road, so they had sniper teams. It was fucking believable. It was one of those things that went right. It could have been a lot of things wrong, but that same campus, they had a drill like 2 weeks before that, so they had a lot of things went right that day. So. Anyways, I got to do some stuff like that. We had a guy that was a prisoner, was in a hospital getting treated. He took a weapon from the cop and takes a couple of shots. Police chases, all kind of stuff. It was fun. Not every day was like cowboys and Indians, but we had a few days that were high adventure there.
Well, that Northern Virginia Community College incident. News doesn't cover stuff when it goes well because y'all were trained and prepared and had planned well and all that.
That knucklehead was in cuffs in just minutes. I mean, it was seconds. It was 60 seconds. These guys was in handcuffs.
Yeah,
they'd have apprehended. But yeah, it was. I got to work a lot of those things. I know we had. One of the big things was the pandemic. We had when I went to Stafford County. That was not. We went down that road, but the pandemic was a pain in the ass. I mean, everything was difficult. We tried to run a county, and they had all the full-time employees working from home. So we tried to run a county like that, and then emergency management came, and we took on everything that wasn't in there. So. We're very slim pickings beyond public safety in my office, so we had to deal with all that. We didn't have enough masks, to go around. We had to make masks. We had to get sewists. We had to put plans out there, and little ladies would come in with 40 masks, and it was some really really tough times on the front end of that thing.
Well, and each jurisdiction thinks of it differently, right?
Yeah.
Everything's different by jurisdiction too.
Yeah. The whole thing was it was tough on the teachers, tough on the kids, tough on everybody. So yeah, I know he had it worse. My wife or me. My wife was trying to teach during 9/11.
Oh, I that's a non-starter for me. I can't even think about it.
Yeah, she was home on her computer teaching red dots on the phone. These the kids wouldn't put their faces on there. It was incredible. It was tough.
Yeah, what a crazy time. Something I don't think anybody ever imagined. Because the last time this country had a pandemic was over 100 years ago.
Yes, it was something I don't want to go through again. I'm not sure if we do. A lot of lessons were learned from this one, so hopefully won't go down this road again. But
hopefully people around that remember it, and then other people that didn't remember it listen to the ones who did. Yeah. So you're a big motorcycle rider in retirement. You were telling me.
Well, yeah, I've been riding for a while since I was probably 14 years old, and then when I got married, I took about a 20-year break from motorcycles, and then when I got close to ready to retire, I told Becky I wanted to get a motorcycle, and of course I would get these emails and notes. Guy buys motorcycle, wrecks it, leaves wife and 3 kids, homeless. So I'd get those notes, So, anyways, I bought a Road King, and then, anyways, I've been riding since 04, I guess. But yeah, I've taken this retirement stuff really seriously, and I have put more miles on my motorcycle in the last 6 months than I have in probably the last 30 years. So since I retired, we've been on 2 trips out to Oklahoma and Arkansas. We went out to North Carolina, New Bern, been down to Florida, down in Tampa. So we've done a lot of rides down here. So I've been doing lots of riding, wife, and I've got a little Pekingese dog. I got a karaoke motorcycle dog care. So she'll ride the back. She's a crowd pleaser, with her hair going back. She's got her goggles on at school. But, yeah, we've been doing some riding. Colin Noyes, he's just up the street. We ride some together. So yeah.
Because you live in the same place that I remember you from.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, he's just the next subdivision over.
Yeah.
So he's real close. We get together upon occasion and ride and do stuff.
Does he annoy you with his drones?
Yeah, he does. He's pretty good. Matter of fact, when I was at Stafford County, he was retiring from the Guard. I picked him up on as an intern. And he had him for like 4 or 5 months there, and put him to work down there, and had him write a drone plan for us for Stafford County. So he's into that drone stuff. He likes it. He's pretty good at it.
He got into it.
Oh yeah.
All right, Virgil, got a couple more things for you. This next one's coming out of left field.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a talk show host, one night only, one day only, whatever your talk show is. You get to decide who your guests are. You can have a male guest, a female guest, and a musical act. These people can be alive or dead. They can be famous. They can be friends, family. Your show can be for entertainment. It can be educational. It can be thought-provoking. It can be whatever the heck you want it to be. This question is meant to be a little more revealing about who you are. So male, female, musical act. Who's on your talk show?
Well, I like to interview my old football coach, Lonnie Barron. Of course, he died several years ago, but he was the most interesting. He was the meanest. I mean, not the meanest guy, but he would when he'd walk into a room, people would just talk. He he had command presence was a thing, and he was such a great motivator. And I'd like to talk to him again, but. I think I'd like to see him again. He was probably my first, other than my dad, my first great mentor. And I thought the world of him. And this guy willed us to win the championship, which we never should have won. The guy was really, really incredible. But I would like to talk to him again. He was a really, really cool guy.
All right. What about female or musical act?
Well, I've always been a Stevie Nicks fan, man. I always thought she was hot. She had the most beautiful voice, but I'd love to have a conversation with Stevie Nicks. He's been rode hard, and done lots of things. But I think she'd be interesting to talk to.
She's lived in a unique life. That's for sure.
And then we've been watching this Daisy something in the 6. Don't watch, it's horrible. But it's loosely based on Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks, but I wouldn't recommend it. But anyways, I think she would be interesting to talk to.
All right, right on. Then is she also your musical act, or do you have?
I think I've always been a man. I've had every CD and 8-track and LP that the Fleetwood Mac's ever had. But I've always been a Fleetwood Mac fan.
All right, right on.
Yeah.
That's a good show. I check it out. All right, last thing.
Yeah, man.
Tell me about Becky and tell me about your kids.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's probably the best thing ever happened to me was Rebecca Gray and Rebecca Evans. And matter of fact, we started dating, and gosh, she was like 79, I guess, something like that. So I was about 19. She was actually like 15. So I was like 18, 19. She was 15. So she was a little young, probably should be in jail for, probably now. But, we're from Arkansas, so it's okay. It's okay. It's all good. But, yeah,
I'm not saying anything.
She's my first wife. She's my trophy wife. She's the wind beneath my wings, so she's put up with my shit for all these years, and she's just tremendous. So she's awesome. She retired. She's a retired teacher, and we have 3 kids. We have a hell of a good time. I actually like my wife, and we like to go. So we have a good time. We have a ball. I have three children. My oldest is Jessica. She's living with us now, so which we love, and she has 2 children. A 15-year-old Grayson, who's a tremendous. He got all athletic. This kid is got hand-eye coordination, and I took him out, bought some golf clubs, and took him out the first day and showed him how to hold the clubs, and he's smacking the ball 7,500 yards right down the middle of the fairway at like 8 years old. Never misses, never shake one. Tremendous athlete. He's playing football. I think he scored 8 touchdowns this year.
Nice.
He's a tremendous little athlete. So, and Lucy she's 2. So, and then my middle daughter Susan's got a 16-year-old son. He's a junior or freshman, I guess, freshman in high school, junior in high school. He's in the band, doing real good, real handsome kid. Girls love him. And then Lily, she's 9. And she's a little princess, she was on a kick there for about a year where she wore those dress up princess clothes, the town, everywhere, at the bed, she wore day and night. So did that. And then my son Jason, his wife Stephanie, they had a baby, and Morgan. So she's 3 months old, I guess. So yeah, I have 5, enough for a basketball team now. So
that's quite the crew.
Quite the crew. So yeah, I got 4 of them that are close by here, and then Jason's down there. But we found that Legion flights go right into Pie in Tampa, 10 miles from his house. Real cheap flight. So we're down there a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good that he lives in Florida. It's a good excuse to go down there in the winter.
Oh yeah. We're probably doing this snowbird thing again next year, I would think. So it's good stuff. We have some real good friends down there too that we hang out with. So
yeah, I was gonna say you could do the snowbird thing until they're tired of y'all doing the snowbird thing.
That's right.
So you got any plans besides traveling and?
Well, I'm doing some training, working with doing ICS Incident Command System training for the local localities. We're doing some volunteers and pay anything. I'm doing some of that. Working with my uncle has a foundation. It's Dale Graham Veterans Foundation, and he's out of Northern Oklahoma, and he's been doing it for years. But I've been writing claims for soldiers and airmen and all that. So I'm doing some of that. My wife and I tag team those. So we're doing some of those. Some of my friends, that locally here, we're helping them with their VA claims. And the VA system is very difficult to navigate. I mean, I consider myself an average guy at best, but it's tough. I mean, it's tough to navigate if you don't have some training, some help on it. So been helping folks with that, so that's been doing that. And, my yard looks better than it ever has. I mean, my yard looks great, But yeah, I've been trying to do the things important to me is family things, taking care of family stuff. Like just going down with my son for 2 months to visit them with that baby. You can't do that if you're working. It's just so much of a blessing to get down and do that, to help out. And we're going to go back down again in May. My son's wife is a teacher too. So when she goes back to school, we're going to go back and when she gets done with this, help out for a couple weeks watching the baby. So be fun stuff.
That's a good deal. It sounds like you're staying busy and you're giving back to the community too.
Yeah. So we've been Becky and I, we have a camper down at the base. We do some of that, and been on a couple cruises, since we stay busy doing things. So
that's awesome. Well, Virgil, I appreciate you doing this with me tonight.
Great talking, Virgil.
I was very happy to reconnect with you because you and I had seen each other, and I can't.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
I think it might have been your change of command. I think it went to your change of command last time when you took command. I think it's
when I took command. Yeah, we were out at AP Hill.
Yeah, I was out there for doing something, and I went by and so it's been a while.
It's 2010. Yeah, it's been almost 13 years.
Been a while.
Well, awesome, Virgil. I appreciate you doing this. I wish you a very, very happy, active, and fun retirement, and I appreciate your service to our country too.
Oh yeah, thank you for what you do too, brother.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.